Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now the first story comes from Nest Pro E from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and it says, am I the arsehole for being upset with my wife for going out clubbing with her girlfriends, but she leaves her ring at home so she can get free drinks. It starts, wife has been going out clubbing with friends every Friday for a while now. Just recently saw that she left her ring at home tonight. I texted her telling her she left it at home tonight and she responded telling me it's so she can get free drinks from guys. Wouldn't this mean she's flirting with other guys so she can get free drinks from them? Not sure how to feel about this or how to reply. Will telling her I feel uncomfortable open a can of worms? Absolutely not the asshole to be upset at this, and I would be too. I mean, the clubbing isn't the issue, but she's deliberately trying to create an impression about her availability because she can benefit from it. She can get free drinks or whatever, trying to show that she's single to people. But a commenter says not the asshole in any way. If she's pulling that stunt, you have every right to confront her and be absolutely livid. That's not fair or okay to you. Opie says, yeah, I understand and felt this type of response coming. Is this grounds to assume she's been cheating, or should I just treat this as a slap on the wrist? What would you do? Commenter replies saying, not the arsehole, she's doing something you're not comfortable with. Talk it out and see what happens. Opie says, I don't know how to start the topics. Do I ask her, does that mean you've been flirting with other guys for drinks? Or how far would you go for a free drink? Or something like, can you please wear your ring? It makes me feel uncomfortable. I just don't know what to say without being harsh or demanding. Commenter, who was downvoted, says, who gives a shit if it opens a can of worms? Stand up for yourself and to hell with the outcome. There are no girls' nights or guys' nights in our house. Once you're married with kids, you have no business in a bar. OP says, we have no kids, so I think this might be a little different. But I understand your point, so thank you. What would you say to her, or how would you start the topic if your wife did this? A commenter says, not the arsehole. She doesn't see it as cheating because you don't need to go up to a guy to flirt and get a drink. They will come to you and shove their free drink under your nose and then stare at you expectantly. She isn't looking at the situation from your perspective and thus isn't seeing the problem. Opie says, I also thought this. I figured that some guys just don't see a ring and would just buy a drink without even talking to her, and that's how she'd get her free drinks. I'm open to all sides too. So, after about 3 months, OP does update the post. It says, hey guys, this is an update to my previous post. As I got a lot of feedback about how to handle the situation. Thanks a lot for all of that. It was an unexpected and overwhelming response, and I went through as many as I could. I know it's been a few months, but I needed time to think and talk with my wife about the whole thing. It's been brought to my attention that I may have not been the best husband. We both have many flaws and have been far from perfect in this relationship, and it turns out we both have terrible communication skills. Long story short, when she came home that night, we talked, argued about it. The argument led to me walking out to go stay at my brother's house for 2 nights. My brother, who is also married, suggested marriage counseling to see if we can get any suspicions or issues out in the open easier. So I called her, recommended it, and we had a session booked for the following week. Yes, she admitted during counseling that she did occasionally make out with other guys when going out drinking with friends. On her behalf, her issue was that she felt I was not prioritizing her enough, that I wasn't giving her enough time, also that I never bothered to ask what she wanted from me. She has been considering divorce for about a year now, so this might be what our relationship would ultimately come to. I'm purposely leaving out a lot of personal information as I don't really like sharing everything, but all I have to say is that this past year for us hasn't been exactly the best for us. This might be the most time we have spent talking every day for a while, discussing divorce plans, where we plan to go, who's keeping what, etc. We don't hate each other. We both realized we're drifting apart sooner than we realized. But we aren't really motivated enough to keep ourselves together. This might be for the best. If I hadn't posted anything about the ring situation and approached it head on, I probably would have been in even more of a mess. Thanks guys. TLDR, we went to marriage counseling. She admitted she made out with other guys. I don't prioritize her enough. We're getting a divorce. Commenter says, trickle truthing is a thing. Look it up. Most adults simply do not stop and making out. It is up to you if you want to go down that rabbit hole though. Also, the excuses of not getting enough prioritization or attention are not really an excuse for cheating in my opinion. You may be at fault for being a shitty husband, but you're not at fault for her messing around with other guys. That is a separate choice that she made. I hope everything works out for you and wish you the best. OP says I can't and won't speak on her behalf. However, on behalf of myself, the counselling really opened my eyes on how terrible I am with communication skills. Not saying that her cheating was justified at all, but I know down the road that communication is something I will 100% be working on. Thanks for your kind wishes. Commodore says, dude, come on man. She admits to making out with other guys, but tried to imply it's your fault. Come on man, where's your self-love? Also the way you talk about yourself. She's berated you into thinking it's your fault. This is as abusive of a situation as I have ever seen. OP says, I appreciate you looking out for me. And in a way, you're right. I need to love myself more. And I feel like divorcing with her is one step in that direction. Whether either myself or her are at fault doesn't matter at this point. The only thing I'm concerned about is making myself a better person. Whether that be by becoming more vigilant to actions of others, learning to tend to others' needs better, etc. It's all with ending the mess I'm in now. Thank you. Yeah, and what bothered me about the update is how quickly her cheating gets bundled with the I wasn't prioritizing her enough. Both problems can be true in the marriage, but like the commenter said, that they are separate problems. If OP wasn't giving her enough attention, she could have told him, so she could have suggested counseling or ultimately just left. She could have made those choices, but she made out with other men and that was still her decision. She was the one who chose to cheat. But I like the way that OP is going to end it by the sounds of it, basically saying that the marriage is ending, but he can't control what she did, but he can learn about himself and take that into his next relationship. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Panic Boyfriend from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit and says, am I the arsehole for telling my girlfriend I will literally kick her out if she won't see a doctor? I'm honestly out of ideas for how to help my girlfriend, and so maybe I was too harsh today, but I'm losing my mind over this situation. She definitely has a medical issue of some kind. She goes to the walk-in sometimes, but they won't do anything long-term that needs monitoring, so she needs a family doctor. And she's been on a list for over a year and does call around occasionally to family doctors, but has not had any luck. But I don't think she has taken her health seriously at all, and offer to take her to ER sometimes because seriously she might die or something, and I want this addressed as soon as possible. She is thin and small. She doesn't eat much, but partly, and I can confirm, because she often throws up after having just a few bites of a meal and then feels sick for a while. That kind of knocks her out of the day for a few hours, so she just takes vitamins and occasionally drinks Ensure, the kind of drink targeted at old people to keep up calories. But she's only 23, and she's weirdly fine with this and says she's always kind of been this way, which isn't true because we started dating 2 years ago, and I definitely saw her eat normally at some times in the past. She wakes up in the middle of the night to be sick in the bathroom. Sometimes in the middle of the day, she goes from totally coherent to looking like a drunk person in less than 5 minutes. I literally have to force her to drink some juice or something. I'm not a doctor, but I know she needs one like yesterday. I'm not even comfortable with letting her drive anymore because of how spacey she can get out of nowhere. She keeps saying she's on a list and will get a doctor eventually, but I think seriously, this is bad, and I know I'm nagging, but it's kind of scary, and I don't know what to do at all. Today she got really weak and confused and forgot about lots of things we were talking about just this morning. I said I kind of want to call an ambulance, and she told me she's fine and would be mad if I did that. I'm so upset. I said, if you're trying to kill yourself, I can't be with you to watch, and seriously, you have to do something or else move out, because I can't do this anymore. You have to get healthy or get out. She's okay physically now, but incredibly angry with me for being insensitive about symptoms she can't help. But I know she can't help it, and that's why I want her to go to the hospital, because what if she has some kind of disease that can use medicine or something? I really don't know. I know medical info is super personal, but I live with her and see this problem every day, and it's really scary. So I kind of think it's my problem too, but maybe I'm overstepping. I really don't know. Is it an arsehole thing to push people on medical topics like this? Maybe I should call her mum, in another city but not far. But that also feels kind of dickish, and I don't know how to act right here. So OP responds to a deleted comment about location etc. and said, Canada. We're in a smallish area, so there are only so many family doctors here, and they aren't always accepting new patients. I also don't have a doctor, which is pretty normal, but we should try even harder to find one than usual right now, I think. Nova Scotia. I actually was calling around myself since I made this post, and a random clinic secretary gave me some leads on a couple of recent graduates of family med that may be accepting patients as they're setting up new practices. So it's too late to call tonight, but on Monday morning I will for sure. But I'll tell my girlfriend first since I don't want to seem too pushy. But just let her know I might have found a new doctor. Commenter replied said, "Hi, I lived in NS for 4 years. You can go to a walk-in clinic and they will see you the same day. Went several times and was usually seen within 30 minutes to an hour. Go early in the day if you can. If you live near Halifax, I went to Family Focus on Spring Garden. They also have a location in Sackville." OP responded saying, "I heard her on the phone last time she had a clinic appointment. They're doing everything distance right now, and I believe she is saying what her symptoms are, but she acts really casual about it and I don't know. She's with her sister right now, but I'd really like to talk to a doctor to tell them what I see so she can't wave it away if that makes sense. I think that's why she isn't getting referrals. She isn't letting anyone know how bad it actually is and isn't acting worried. We are a bit far from Halifax but within driving distance, like an hour, so we could go there if needed." Commenter says she probably really needs to see a gastroenterologist, not just a GP. OP says, "Yeah, I assume she needs a specialist, honestly. I don't have a lot of doctor experience myself, but as far as I know, you're supposed to go to the GP first and they will refer you to someone else as needed. Maybe I'm being dumb because I'm kind of panicky about this topic, so that's why I really just want to pass it off to a doctor to tell us what to do." Commenter says, "Not the arsehole. She definitely needs to see a doctor. That isn't normal. However, telling her you would kick her out might be a bit insensitive, but she really needs to see a doctor." OP says, "I don't really want to kick her out right now, but I'm questioning the relationship. I don't know why I even said that, and it's why I'm probably an arsehole. I just feel so lost that I said any words that came into my head at that moment, just trying to push her to do something." Commenter says, "Does she have an eating disorder?" OP says, "I don't know really. I don't think so though. She seems to try and maintain her weight with supplements like calorie and protein drinks and stuff. But as I said, it's sort of weird and I don't really know what's going on. I want to go to a doctor, maybe even together if she will ever agree to it." Commenter replied saying, "I know someone who has gastroparesis and her symptoms were similar to what you're describing." OP says, "The symptoms there seem right on, but also people have told me to look up IBS and Crohn's and those look right too. I think at the end of the day, we all need to tell a doctor that she has a digestive problem so they can figure it out and tell us what to do. I'm afraid to guess myself really." A commenter says, "Not the arsehole, but I think this may be more of a mental issue versus physical issue, hence her not being able to see a normal doctor. It doesn't take that long to get in. Also, walk-in clinics will get you into a family doctor by way of referral in a week's time. Have you considered the fact that this may be an eating disorder or drugs? Sounds honestly like a combo of the two." OP says, "I don't think drugs since I think I would have noticed, but maybe an ED? Although sometimes I see her get sick after eating and it doesn't look intentional, it just kind of happens. But even if it's that, and she's doing it somehow on purpose, I want to get a doctor still. I'm worried to go to sleep now because it's so unpredictable. I can never really help much." Commenter says, "Not the arsehole, it really does sound like she needs help, whether this is something outside of her control or if it's something she is doing to herself. You've been together long enough that caring for her health and well-being is not overstepping any boundaries." OP says, "I kind of thought of that. I don't really know her mum. We met only briefly a few times, but I kind of think her parents can help. Maybe even if it's just a chance they can help. I don't know." The commenter replied saying that might be a good idea, but be aware that if you go behind her back with this, she will likely be upset. I haven't had to react to anybody with a potential ED or drug use to see how much this might be needed though. Perhaps another user can weigh in on this. I wish you the best of luck." OP says, "Yeah, I want to be respectful, but it also feels like an emergency to me and I have no idea what I'm doing. I think later today I might suggest to her calling her mum and say that I can do it if she doesn't want to. But if she wants to do it, that would probably be better. I'm kind of making a list of things I find alarming to show her later as well. I don't want to seem like I'm attacking, but I also want her to see how it isn't normal to have these problems, and maybe we can fix them if we try. Although I also think she already knows these things, and I don't want to seem controlling. I just want to say that I'm actually really worried, and this is really hard." Commenter says, "Not the arsehole, she's avoiding doctors. Tell her she can tell her parents, or you can, but you can't handle this health emergency on your own. She'll be pissed at you, but you have reached the breaking point of enabling her, and that's understandable. Call the ambulance next time. You can't treat her." OP says, "Yeah, I don't really see any way I can act here without being an arsehole to her unfortunately, but I regret it way more if she gets sicker than if she's mad at me. It just sucks so much and I don't want to be the person making these choices because I have no idea how to do this right, and I feel like literally anyone else should be making these calls instead." Commenter replied saying, "You're 100% right in all of this. It's definitely time to call her parents or whoever she trusts with like advice. aka if she had a bad relationship with her parents, maybe calling her a grandparent or mentor figure would be the better option. Opie says she is close with her mum at least, and close to both parents I think, but she definitely talks to her mum a lot. But also her sister lives a bit closer, so I'm thinking of asking her for help. I think I'm going to tell my girlfriend we have to call someone and let her pick herself who that is. I don't want to make every choice for her, but I might have to say that if she won't pick, then I will pick on her behalf. I feel like such a dick, but I feel so much better with someone else involved to help. Someone says not the arsehole, but if she has an IUD, I recommend getting it out. I had the Marina, and she sounds like she's going through what I did. Mine almost killed me. Opie says she does have an IUD, and she had it for maybe 7 months now. Would it be like a hormone reaction? Either way, I wrote it down in my notes for a doctor or her parents, depending on what we do next. One more commenter says, I understand you've been dating for 2 years, but has she ever brought up her restroom habits with you? This may sound odd initially, but I have severe Crohn's disease, and many of my symptoms gravitate around the same basis as your SO. I get really bad brain fog throughout the day, and eating pretty much anything other than Ensure or Boost makes me extremely groggy, almost drunk-like behavior for a few hours afterwards. I also weigh less than 100 pounds at 5'5". It sounds way too similar not to mention this possibility, and asking her about her restroom habits would basically solidify this theory. Opie says, well, I didn't mention it in the main post, but when I say she wakes up in the middle of the night to be sick, I meant like pooping sick instead of throwing up sick, which I realize now is how it sounded maybe. We don't talk about it much, but it's a small apartment so I can hear it, and it makes me think between puking and that symptom that she isn't really getting food in her body at all. I don't know how much she weighs, and she is tall, well like 5'7" or something, but I believe she's not much over 110 because she's really small now. Wasn't that small when we started dating. It's not like I have a problem with her size, except it makes me think she isn't getting nutrients, if that makes sense. And she has family members who have Crohn's too, so this is kind of making a lot of sense. First reading the title, I thought, bloody hell, this is going to be an absolute brutal one, and that's the way it sounds in isolation, but when you read what Opie's actually been living with, you can sort of understand why he's reached this breaking point. She's clearly got some gastro problems, losing significant weight, and she's becoming so weak and confused that she appears drunk. Even at one stage, Opie mentioned that she was forgetting conversations that they had that very same morning. And this isn't Opie nagging for like a basic checkup. He's scared. He's petrified that something is seriously wrong to someone he loves. And a little bit off topic, but I've made decisions on behalf of my mum and my dad when they were seriously ill towards the end kind of thing, before they were diagnosed, etc. I'm sure I would be called an arsehole for, but still, I would do it again. And I had many of the same thoughts that OP's having in this story, like, am I being controlling? Am I overstepping? Should I call someone else first? Should I call an ambulance? And let's face it, he doesn't want to throw her out. He blurted it out because he was desperate to make her do something rather than just sitting watching her waste away like this. But after 2 days, Opie comes back in to edit after some of the comments and says, thank you all so much for your stories and encouragement on this situation. It helped me realize it's worth acting, even if it would make me an arsehole. We messaged her sister really late last night. Girlfriend said it was okay to do, but I'm the one who messaged, and she was still actually awake and said that she had the weekend off and could come stay with us for 2 days and help if she can, and she got here a few hours ago. She's being really kind to me, honestly, like trying to take care of me and telling me to go sit down, and she made me food and I'm overwhelmed. She had a private conversation with my girlfriend. When they came out, they said they are going to go to the ER, and her sister is somehow doing all of this so easily where I couldn't. And they're at the hospital now, and I'm not. But I think that makes sense because she seems to listen to her sister a lot easier than me, and it is probably best. And I think I'm just exhausted or something. I've never been so stressed in my life, but I'm so thankful to her sister who seems to know exactly what to say to make everything work. Edit again. For anyone curious, her sister called me, and I guess my girlfriend has more than one ulcer in her stomach, and there could be a reason for it, so they're still at the hospital to try and see why she has them. She had a scope thing and also a biopsy, and that's all I know so far. So, 5 months later, Opie came in with what was their final update, and first gives a summary of the first post and then says, it's been a long time since that post, but I received so much support and kindness from it that I wanted to give an update to anyone who may like to know what happened in the end. After many days and long nights in the ER with referral promises that never came to be, my girlfriend finally got a referral to some kind of diagnostic clinic that works with difficult problems. The early hospital visits were enough to know that she had ulcers, but she was still sick even after they were seemingly healed. So they did more tests at more ER visits. Sometimes all they could do was hydrate her. She's constantly dehydrated and tell her she needs to take stronger vitamins because it's always mildly deficient in a few. The diagnostic clinic ran a fuck ton of blood tests looking for every possible thing, like 3 blood tests a week. She must have been screened for every disease in existence. They found some mild liver dysfunction. Sorry if I report this incorrectly, but she doesn't process bilirubin correctly as far as I understand it, and that is an important liver thing. After that, they still tested her for every gastro and liver disease under the sun, and it looks like she has a genetic thing that sometimes, but not always, causes stomach pain and puking. They basically told her that it sucks but isn't life-threatening, and all she can do is avoid putting stress on the body. So she has actually gotten much better at sleeping regular hours and not pushing herself physically and trying to drink enough water, or Gatorade, which she now claims to be superior to water. But whatever, it seems to work. She still throws up suddenly if she gets stressed out, but it's much less frequent, and for at least 2 months hasn't been getting randomly confused, so that's a good sign. She says now that she has an answer. It's easier to handle, and I'm not really pushing past that because it seems to be working. She isn't angry with me anymore and said I wasn't wrong to be upset, and she apologized for being difficult. But she says she was initially overwhelmed with never getting answers and never knowing how to eat or act to make a difference. So she never tried. She seems embarrassed about it now. We had a lot of conversations about how to deal with health issues in the future, and I also apologized and said I'd really try not to lose my temper if she gets sick again, but it'll be easier if we talk about it sooner. I think we're on the same page now, and things are way better than before. She even saw the original post and said the comments helped her realize that this was actually scary to other people, where she didn't think it was noticeable to others at first. She still said I was too harsh to lash out at her, as some of you mentioned, and I agreed. The compromise was to talk about things more often, so neither of us has to feel like worry is building up over time. Thanks to everyone who reached out after my first post, with thoughtful responses. It meant a lot, and we might not be totally there yet, but we are making good progress. OP then adds in a comment saying, "Oh, but to answer the question, I still want to keep trying. This is just one small part of our relationship, and there's way more good than bad overall, especially since we're at least addressing the bad part. I do think it can get better for us, but I think it might take a while. I mean, I still do have more hope now, but yeah, for now, all we know is that we're still trying to fix this stuff, including our frustrations with each other, which isn't constantly, but common enough to be a bit focused on it. Hope that makes sense." A commenter says to OP, "Glad you updated. It sucks, but it happens. In high school, everyone was convinced I had an eating disorder because I rarely ate in front of people, because I would get sick when I ate. I had ulcers, still do. When I get extremely stressed, I can't eat, or if I overeat, I get sick. Let her know it gets better. You can find out what you can deal with and don't, at least for me." OP responds saying yes, she seems to just know a bit as well. There are times she says, "I can't eat right now. I think I need a few hours and will eat at night." I used to argue, but also she's usually right and gets sick if she eats when she feels like she can't. Sometimes not though. It's confusing and weird from my perspective, but as long as she's trying to be healthy, I'm happy and I can let her figure out what works for her. Commenter says, "If she likes Gatorade, you might suggest to try Pedialyte." Pronunciation, I do apologize. It's rehydration, but not soda sweet like Gatorade. OP says, "Yeah, that's a good idea." She does drink regular water too, but she says she's still thirsty if she doesn't get some Gatorade. That's kind of worrying about her teeth, so any less sugary suggestions we plan to try. I'm kind of interested in trying some of them too. Commenter says, "As a person with a moody stomach, I never knew what made it moody, but luckily my doctor was willing to try something that might work, and luckily it did. I know it's a pain not knowing on both sides, but hiding from your fears is definitely the wrong way to handle it. Maybe it's not the stomach that is the source of the problem, but something else. Bugs can be weird that way sometimes." OP replied saying, "Yeah, for sure. But even said it could be something else that they can't find, and so just to monitor it for now, and she is trying their suggestions in case this diagnosis is right. She's feeling better already, so she's way more optimistic than me, but I can't deny she seems happier and healthier just focusing on living slowly and eating more vegetables, as she puts it, so I'm fine with it, and we'll reevaluate it if/when it flares up, as doctors told her to expect it to happen eventually." A good point on hiding from it being useless. We started kinda checking in on health every few days just casually, so if anything happens, we can both know. Fun fact, vegetables weren't even a recommendation she got. She just made that up herself, but it sounds healthy, so whatever helps you focus, you know? Commenter says, you probably won't see this because I'm so late responding, but is it called Gilbert's disease? I have it too. Hope you responded saying, yeah, that's the one. I didn't include it in the post because I didn't know how to spell it, lol. They said it could be something else, but that's what they think for now. Commenter says, not the arsehole, and it's good that there's some kind of progress in understanding what's happening with her. I sense you are still rather frustrated though, like you were justified in your original frustration causing you to make that threat to kick her out to push her to change. But now that's happened, your tone in your conversations with her sounds grudging. I would have expected you to be full of relief and happy you can face this together and move forward. It's not a perfect situation since you didn't get a clear diagnosis that will clear this up eventually, but honestly, this is more about your relationship than just her health issues. Are you still happy with being with her and working through all this? Hope you're responding, yeah, that's kind of true, good catch. I'm still a bit frustrated and now she is too because we still only have vague instructions from doctors and I'm worried she will get lax and stop trying as hard as she is now. With like drinking lots of water and taking vitamins and being gentle when she's active and eating frequent small meals and all that. And so like we have talked about this as well and I'm trying hard not to be pre-mad about things she hasn't even done yet because I know experimenting with diets and routines is hard, but I know she can get careless about schedules sometimes, so we're still kind of awkward and tense whenever we discuss health things. We thought about me going to some of her therapy sessions with her, but a therapist isn't really about health, it's just for general anxiety and stress sort of discussion. She isn't a relationship therapist or anything too, so it might not be helpful. But we're thinking about it anyway, or maybe getting a separate therapist just for a few sessions because like we are trying to be chill with each other, but we're still kind of fast to get annoyed about it now. And it's hard to stop that honestly, even though we talked about it pretty well and made some good plans together, but yeah, it's kind of hard. Sorry for the rant, but I was kind of glad you picked up on that. It kind of makes me feel more valid for us having a short fuse with each other, even still after things are starting to get better. Another commenter says, not the arsehole. This may be out there, but if the situation isn't resolving enough physically, I would suggest some metaphysical solutions. Nothing wild, but see about acupuncture or Reiki healing. Try some good HZ videos on YouTube for stress reduction or look up how to regulate the nervous system. It sounds like stress is what triggers the issues, so try to work on that as much as possible. Hope you reply saying, yeah, fair. My girlfriend has been asking docs for anxiety meds, in case it's anxiety related, or therapy, but it isn't covered by insurance right now. She's already really into meditation and I think she'd actually be curious about Reiki and stuff just to try it out. Not sure if it's available here and she likes to stay indoors as much as possible to avoid getting sick. Not like forever, but just lately. But I still suggest it. I'll show her all these comments later anyway, but I'm responding to you so she's more likely to see your suggestions. One more commenter says, I saw your original post. This is me. How did your girlfriend get a diagnosis? I was diagnosed with IIH, which Google says is idiopathic intracranial hypertension, a few years ago. I still have really bad symptoms if I don't take my medicine, and even then, it still doesn't help some days. I know you're not a doctor, but it looks like you found some answers. I feel like I'm not being treated properly. Opie says, my girlfriend still feels like doctors don't take her seriously at times. It's a constant struggle, sadly. She didn't really get officially diagnosed with anything, but rather she was given a tentative guess because everything else came back negative, and one lab test showed high liver enzymes in her blood when she felt really sick, but was better a few weeks later when she felt better. I think I described that right, but could be wrong. My point is that they really just ruled everything else out, so decided to label it as Gilbert syndrome, but it's still a bit uncertain. And for me, I felt some connection to this story after this, and I still back OP in what they did. He gave the ultimatum because her symptoms had reached a point where doing nothing was genuinely not sustainable. There wasn't much more he could do. Maybe it was a bit on the rough side the way he came out with it, but I don't blame the frustration, the worry, that just being scared that a loved one is going downhill basically. But in the update, I felt a lot of sympathy for his girlfriend as well. She wasn't simply refusing medical care because she didn't care whether she got better. She had spent days and nights at hospital, promised referrals that went nowhere, scopes, biopsies, ulcers discovered, blood tests, all that sort of stuff that goes on, only to continue feeling ill and have no definitive answer. And if you've been a part of the channel for a couple of years, you'll know that I was diagnosed with IBS myself. And I'm not saying this is what the girlfriend has or anything, but been on that gastrointestinal merry-go-round myself. I understand how you can eventually reach the point of being just completely sick of it. I certainly was, being prodded, poked, having a camera stuck up your ass every now and then. The amount of blood they took from me, I thought I was running a vampire blood bank. And you have to constantly explain, repeatedly explain to people how your shit is, how you vomit to strangers, and just generally feeling like shit. No pun intended, of course, but it gets exhausting really quickly. But when I eventually got my IBS diagnosis, it basically amounted to, and I can remember the doctor saying this, because he smiled at me when he said this, and he said, "We basically ruled everything else out, so we can officially call this IBS," and then gave me medication. And I remember leaving almost just thinking, is that it? What happens now? What if they're wrong? What am I actually supposed to do with this information? And that's not me criticizing the doctors or the medical staff who treated me. It's just, the experience that how it felt from my side. Diagnosis doesn't necessarily provide the sense of closure people imagine it will, and you're still left with a lot of questions and confusion and worry and stress. And that's why this story, especially from the girlfriend's perspective, really landed with me, because she had become overwhelmed by never getting the answers and never knowing how to eat or act to actually make a difference. So she never tried. And I really get how someone can get to that point. After enough appointments where you're still ill and when you leave and you still don't really know why, resignation can probably start to look a lot like not caring from the outside, where on the inside you're just stressed as fuck. Which again doesn't help matters. Stress is probably one of the biggest triggers for me. And whilst it doesn't sound like everything's perfect in their relationship right now, I do wish them all the best going forward. And I hope things do work out for them, because I can only imagine how stressful and scary this is from both sides for them. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here today, getting involved in the stories. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.